Hello and welcome to Sideways. This week we're talking about funerals and why they present such trigger points for people in recovery. In addition, we're talking about how to get close enough to touch the Queen, ridiculous restaurant bills, death plans and funeral music. It's more uplifting than it sounds. Funerals.
Bloody hell, that took some time, didn't it?
Good evening. Yeah, how you doing?
Don't pretend like nothing's wrong and it is all seamless. I've been sitting here for about 4.5 hours waiting for you to do a bloody software update.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, it was a bit scary, that, wasn't it?
You look like you're holding your microphone now, like you're doing some stand-up. You're going to give us 5 minutes of stand-up?
I was just sort of moving it out of the way so I could turn the speakers up a bit so I could hear what you were saying. Is your cold gone now?
I'm still a bit phlegmy.
Are you?
Yeah, from Motorhead.
He was the lead singer of Motorhead. Yeah. You look a bit like him, but he's deceased. Another one bites the dust.
Yeah, that's Freddie Mercury you're thinking of,
which we'll come on to later. Actually.
Oh, are we? We're going to talk about Freddie Mercury.
We're not, no, but another one bites the dust, certainly.
Oh, excellent. I saw Queen. Have you ever seen Queen?
No.
I saw Queen. I didn't want to go and see Queen, but I went to see Queen, and I was glad that I did.
I know. Well, you had my ticket, didn't you?
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Do you know what? I must be one of the limited number of people who've seen Queen and the Queen.
I've seen the Queen, but I haven't seen Queen the group. Because,
yeah, I know. But have you seen the Queen up close?
Not up close. No.
How close have you been to the Queen?
Probably about 5 yards.
Yeah, I could have reached out and touched the Queen, like like that Fagin bloke.
He ended up sitting on the end of her bed, didn't he? Which was it's wrong. You can't do that to our Queen, can't you? Just turn up in her bedroom like that.
No, I saw her in Canterbury Cathedral. Very
nice too. Is that when you were being knighted?
No, it wasn't. No, it was my mother was being recognised for her selfless service to society.
Excellent, and well deserved.
Yeah,
well deserved with your mum. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, is that what you? That wasn't what you wanted to talk about today, was it? Royalty?
No, it wasn't really. No, I wanted to talk to you about funerals. I thought I'd choose a cheery subject this week. Are you happy with that?
Crikey. So for goodness knows how many weeks running now, you've been dripping on about various obituaries for people that have died. And now you want to do an episode on funerals. Well,
it was something that came up recently in groups at one of our meetings where someone was off to a funeral, and it sort of reminded me about how often this crops up when people are off to funerals whilst they're in recovery. And there's all sorts of problems that arise out of that. And I wanted to sort of go through that really. I want to go through how these situations, or how the situation is dealt with. I mean, we all, as we get older, there's more funerals in our life anyway, unfortunately, aren't there?
Yeah, it is. It is a inevitability of getting older, isn't it?
It is. And that particular figure it's more unbalanced when you hang around with addicts like I do. Because it's unfortunately, I know we've talked about it before about making sure you make sure you invest in a black suit when you first come into recovery, because you're probably going to be using it, and that's turned out to be true. I remember my key worker was saying to me, you inevitably you'll end up going to a lot of funerals, but just make sure it's not your own. Which was good advice. I felt I didn't really fancy going to my own funeral just yet.
No, just to be clear though, I'm not going to wear a black suit to your funeral.
You're not invited. I've put it in my will. You're going to be barred at the gates.
That's low, isn't it? Not being able to get into a funeral.
It is. It's a bit unfortunate, isn't it?
Crikey. Yeah.
Anyway, before we start on funerals, it was a story that cropped up, which you may have seen it. It was on social media, but it also made the news as well, about these 4 people. They went to an opening of a new restaurant in London, in Knightsbridge. Mm-hmm. There's 4 of them went, and they came out at the end of the night with a bill of £37,000. Did you see that?
I didn't see that. No, that's that sounds excessive. They must have really hit the sweet trolley. Is all I can say.
Well, what they did, I mean, they showed her a copy of their receipt on social media, and it showed that they paid 850 quid for a steak, which is quite a lot of money, isn't it? Really.
That is a lot of money for a steak, yeah.
It's one of those, I don't know, is it called tomahawk steak or something? But, it was a massive steak, and it was covered in gold leaf, so it's completely excessive. But the interesting part of it was really, apart from the overall bill and the £5,000 service charge that was bagged on, you've got to get a lot. You're going to get a lot for your dough there. £5,000, if you're paying that out, your service has got to be pretty special, isn't it? But the astounding part of it all, of looking at the receipt, was that £30,000 was spent on alcohol. Wow. Out of the total of £37, they were paying £9,000 per bottle of vintage champagne.
Well, I mean, the first thought that I have about that is, after your first bottle of vintage champagne, you could be drinking any ropey old crap, couldn't you, from Lidl? You wouldn't know, would you?
No. Well, that was my thought. I mean, you could have quite a discerning palate read to distinguish between a bottle that costs £9,000 and one that cost £1,000, for example. It's just crazy. It's excessive. There was a lot of comments on the social media postings saying this is again, it's completely excessive and it's outrageous. And other people said, well, these people are just showing off, but putting that on there because they can afford it. So there was a sort of a lot of different comments. But I just thought the amount that was being spent on alcohol there was just outrageous.
Do you reckon you spent that amount on alcohol in your life? I bet you did.
Oh, easily, but not in one night.
It would take you about a month, wouldn't it, at the height of your drinking, to spend that sort of money?
Well, especially if it was just on the cheapest vodka I could get. I'd have to drink a lot of it to get 30 odd grand's worth in.
Yeah, but you did drink a lot of it.
I did drink an awful lot. Yeah. I've drunk my lifetime's allowance. I can't. That's done now. I can't have any more.
Yeah, I don't suppose you've ever tried to work out how much money you spent on alcohol over the years.
No, that would be too scary.
I'll tell you what I did work out, though, which is not strictly related, but it is a kind of working out the total of something. This is episode 100, isn't it? Or 99, or one of them. I think it might
99,
be
yeah.
Is it 99? Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
I worked out that if, on average, if you put all of our episodes by the side of each other and listen to them end to end, you'd listen to you and me dripping on for over 60 hours.
That's a frightening thought for anyone. It's frightening for me. It's frightening for anyone, the listener. Oh my God. You've got to be pretty committed, haven't you, to listen to that lot.
Do you reckon people who spend £37,000 on a meal ever sort of fancy slumming it and want to go and get a bag of chips?
Well, I suppose at the end of the day, you could either do that or go to McDonald's. You still end up full.
Exactly.
At a much cheaper rate. I mean, it's just crazy. But anyway, should we move on from that? I'm getting a bit bored about that with that one, aren't you? Anyway, we've spoken about bereavement and grief in the past, haven't we?
Yeah.
But not on the actual funeral, which, as I say, it can present an awful lot of problems for those of us in recovery. It's a sort of a multiple trigger event, if you like.
Yeah.
And a lot of people in recovery, and which includes myself, have always said that that bereavement can be a massive part initially of pushing the condition to a point where it starts to become a problem. But we find it also quite problematic with people lapsing.
Yeah.
Which again is very common. I mean, look at my own personal circumstances. I can root it back to one of the very earliest funerals I went to, and never got any sort of therapeutic help at the time, and I indulged in drinking very excessively for quite a long time, right back when I was in my early 20s.
Let me ask you something about this.
Go on then.
To what extent do you think? I mean, it's obvious that going to a funeral could be the cause of a lapse or relapse, but to what extent do you think that an event like a funeral is sometimes used as an excuse by someone in recovery wanting to go back to their drink?
Well, it can very easily be a tick box. Yeah. You can give yourself permission, and that is an issue on top of the other triggers that are going to already be there. You feel sorry for yourself, someone close to you. or even, or I say just a friend, or a friend that you've known for a while or whatever. I mean, when I go to funerals now, even if people that perhaps I haven't known for that long, I still find it incredibly sad. Yeah. Especially if it is one of my fellow addicts that's fallen by the wayside, where I think, there's a way around this. We could have got you out of this. There could have been a way for us not to be in this position now. So I do find it incredibly sad. And yeah, if you go to too early in recovery, I think you're gonna think, I'm feeling sorry for myself, or you feel, this is where I'm going to end up. This is too difficult. It was obviously too difficult for this person. They've succumbed. They've died. I'm not sure my own resolve is strong enough. So that is a problem as well before you even get before the start of the ceremony. So you're building it up in your own head a long time beforehand.
Yeah. So it's kind of an opportunity for you to remind yourself that something like going back to drink is a dysfunctional and destructive way of dealing with a difficult emotion, rather than finding a good way through it.
Yeah, and I think some of the tips I've got later on that I've sort of listed out, a lot of them are about reminding yourself of certain situations. I mean, as human beings, I mean, we don't like feeling emotional pain, do we? We don't like feeling physical pain and emotional pain. We try and avoid it. And I think the problem is that alcohol and drugs have generally do a pretty good job of numbing that pain. And herein lies the problem. Those of us that do have issues with drink and drugs, then we obviously can't afford to go down that route. But we know that is a potential short-term answer, which is why we indulge and why lapses occur.
Yeah, the irony of it is, though, of course, when you do face up to pain, you tend to feel better about yourself on the other side.
Yeah, you do. But and taking drink or taking drugs or drinking, it stops that happening. It will put that on the back burner. You'll stay in that nasty, depressed emotion for much longer. But you don't think about that at the time. You think of the instant relief that potentially could take you away from the situation.
I don't want you using my funeral as a reason to relapse. All right, let's make that clear. If you end up having to come to my funeral,
well, I'll try not to. I'm not saying it'd be a joyful occasion, but I might be a little bit sad, perhaps. I think I'll be all right. Anyway, I miss during my lost decade, as we've talked about in the past. I regret missing a couple of, probably more than that, some quite important funerals that I really should have been, if I was in the right frame of mind, I would have attended. But I don't really remember them happening. And I mean, I can imagine that I wouldn't have been invited anyway. But if I'd found out, I probably wouldn't have gone anyway. I don't think I'd have been in a fit state. I mean, can you imagine turning up to a funeral and you're pretty pissed, and you're going to end up detracting away from what the event should be about, and it'll be so disrespectful. So although I regret missing them because I didn't have the opportunity to sort of say goodbye to some important people in my life, I think at the time it wouldn't have been something I would have liked to have encountered anyway.
Do you think though then, if you're in the midst of your drinking, if you're still active, and somebody in your life dies, and you make that kind of decision not to go to the funeral because, well, apart from anything else, you won't be able to get a drink for about 45 minutes.
Well, quite.
I'm assuming that actually probably pushes you further down when you realise you can't go to such a significant event for someone who's played a big part in your life. It probably worsens your feelings about yourself and then pushes you further into drink, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it does. Your self-esteem is pretty shattered anyway, pretty low down. And when that happens, and you don't go and pay respect, or you make that choice not to, then it makes you feel even worse, which pushes you further down the spiral. Yeah, it accentuates or it speeds up that cycle. So it's an awful time. And I know I didn't want to go too much into bereavement itself, but funerals obviously are inextricably entwined with that emotion, aren't they? Mm-hmm. With the emotion that the bereavement brings on. So when this has come up recently, and I've been thinking about it, and I've never readdressed it in the past, so I've put a sort of a checklist together So although I didn't research this online so much as I normally do, I took time to sift back through my own thoughts and how I dealt with it. And having spoken to other people as well in the past about how they've dealt with it, that have gone through the funeral situation and remained sober, I thought I'd go through a few tips that may be of help to anyone else that's coming up to a similar situation, or indeed in the future, where they can listen back to this episode and remind themselves.
Excellent.
So are you all right for me to go through a few of those, and your input on these would be?
I'll sit back and have a cup of tea.
No, I think your input would be very valuable on this, because the first one is to share the situation before the funeral with your peers, like in the support groups, or to talk to your therapist about your fears. So that's where you come in, because I'd imagine that well, I know that when people start to talk about it, it's almost gearing up and getting ready so that we can, certainly in the peer support group, we chat to and build strength around that person, and then to make sure that they can be in a fit state of mind. But again, you sort of exercise the ghost to a large extent by talking about it beforehand. And so those fears that you have, because everyone has them, once you start to talk about them and you can talk about how to get around them, it starts to dissipate and it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think anything that you know that's coming up that's going to be difficult for you, funerals, anniversaries of death, those sorts of things, I think you're right. The greater the extent to which you can prepare yourself, and I don't mean you need to know how you're going to feel, because you're not going to know that, but the more that you can be aware that your emotions might be all over the place, or they might surprise you, or they might cause you difficulty, the more likely you are to be able to get through it relatively unscathed.
Yeah, you can. And I think it is talking to other people, listen to others in recovery have dealt with it and have been able to stay sober, because it's valuable. It's a valuable source when you tap into if you're in the fellowships, or if you're in other sorts of support groups, have a word with those people that have done it already and see how they've sorted it out. Because I've known people now, and I've been to funerals now, and I don't have these issues. But I know in the early days, apart from the ones I missed, where I did start to go to them, they're not a nice thing to have to go through. But I managed to come away sober, and I felt so much better about it afterwards. Yeah. There's another point that did come up, which I'm not quite sure, because I remember speaking to someone about this before, and from a therapist's point of view, your input would be quite good on this, because it was talking about not burying your grief beforehand. Not just, don't wait for the funeral to come along and then let all your grief out at one go. Try and if it starts to come out before the funeral, let it sort of wash over you and to embrace it. And so by the time you get to the funeral, you're less likely to get to this bottleneck of emotions where they will come pouring out, which is not such a smoothing, won't have such a smoothing effect if you're doing it sort of gradually.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very difficult to hold on to your emotions until a particular time. That sounds more like the sort of thing a man would do.
True. Yeah. It's the sort of thing I did.
Right, I'll hold on to it until the funeral. I'll allow myself 30 minutes of tearful grief, and then I'll go back to stoically being strong again, which of course is a load of bullshit, isn't it? Yeah, I think with emotions generally, you're much better to let them. The more you're able to let them ebb and flow the way they want to, the more comfortable you're going to feel in the long run. So
you are, and I think that we touched on that on a point before, which is the next on my list, which remind yourself that drink and drugs will stop you processing the grief. They will just put it on hold for a little while, and it will still be there. It's we talked about it a lot in the past about walking through the emotion and making sure that you deal with it that way, because it won't last forever. It will come to an end, and all the time you're putting a barrier in the way of you progressing. It's just going to elongate the situation.
Yeah, if you go into recovery thinking that it's just going to get progressively easier, then you're kidding yourself. The reality of recovery is no different from any other nobody from any other life you live, which is that there'll be periods you go through that are easier than others, and some things that will absolutely floor you.
Yeah.
The thing that distinguishes between an addict and someone who isn't an addict is the way they deal with those sorts of things. You don't. It might be very, very uncomfortable, but pushing them away through self-medication is not the answer.
No, it isn't. I mean, just moving on, which is a point which leads on from that, really, is that funerals are supposed to give some sort of closure, but again, drinking drugs is going to stop that happening. But personally, it was a point when I was talking about this to other people. I've never really found funerals as being much of a closure. It just seems to me as part of the overall process of grieving and bereavement. No closure I've really felt when I've come away from the funeral. I thought, good, that's it. I can get on with life now. That's never happened. So I don't know how you feel about it, but I've never seen that. Trying to put closure into one particular day, during the process of grieving, I've never found it have been of great use.
Well, I don't believe in closure as a thing.
Okay.
Don't think it exists.
Okay, good.
Closure suggests a full stop on something, and I don't think you ever reach that. If somebody, well, we're talking about death, if somebody dies that you loved or was important to you, closure suggests that there will come a day when it doesn't matter to you anymore, and that won't ever happen.
No, true.
So I don't think if you're looking for that, if you're looking for getting over something, I don't think it happens. I think what happens is your life changes shape to take account of the fact that person is no longer physically here. And I think the other thing you say about funerals is absolutely right. People who have lost someone close to them often find funerals the beginning of the most difficult part.
Yeah.
Because if you go to a funeral for someone who was an acquaintance or you kind of knew, but it's not a massive loss to you, usually you will feel that after the funeral, your responsibility has been discharged and you don't have to think about that person anymore. You don't have to talk about them. But for the people that were close to that person, it gets really real after that, because no one else wants to talk about it anymore. It's like life's gone back to normal. Everyone else seems to be going about their business just as they were before. But for you, life's completely different. So in that sense, funeral, rather than being the end of it, I think funerals are the beginning of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's interesting you say that, because obviously that brings up the point about aftercare for those people that are grieving. Certainly those in recovery, keeping them close again. It isn't a closure. As I've never found it's closure. But when I did look online when I was preparing my notes, obviously you type in funerals, you get all sorts of funeral director stuff come up, all sorts of bits and pieces, and a lot of them use the word closure. They're talking about we can deliver the best possible closure, and it just seems to me. I'm glad you've said what you said, because I don't think we've ever discussed that before. But I'm glad you said it, because I've never found it closure. I've just found it as part of the process, a very painful part of the bereavement process. But it didn't bring the case to an end. I still grieve, over people I've lost. It's not something that stopped.
Of course, because someone who died can never be less important to you. They never that hole that Paul left, for example, or your parents. It never becomes. It's never a different shape. It's just it's always that size. But what happens is your life builds up around it, so it doesn't feel so massive. When someone first dies, the hole they've left feels like that's all there is in your life. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
And the work of grieving and bereavement is that over time that hole doesn't feel so huge in comparison with what you've redeveloped in your life. And so if you think about a funeral in that context, then a funeral is the first day of that. I mean, I would be willing to bet that it was after the funeral with the people that were closest to you that it really started to become hard.
Yeah. Well, certainly. I mean, it's. I think, leading on from that also is before the funeral. And I don't know how you feel about this, because I know different people have different views, and so I'd welcome your input on this one again. Is going to see the body before the funeral, because I found that so traumatic. I think, if I remember rightly, I think you came with me when I went to see my younger brother Paul's body.
I did,
and it was just unbelievably painful, incredibly painful. I've seen one since, and that was just to go in as a support for someone that was going in, just to see the body. And again, it's something I wouldn't do again. I didn't go and see my parents. I got nothing from seeing Paul's body, anything other than extreme grief and pain.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, that. And I don't know whether it's got something to do with the untimely nature of Paul's death or the shock, because that day is etched in my memory. I remember that. Yeah. I remember that like it was yesterday. I mean, I can see him like it was yesterday. And obviously it didn't have the same effect on me as it did on you because he wasn't my brother. But I know exactly what you mean in that sense. But funnily enough, when I saw both my parents when they were dead, and it didn't have the same effect on me.
Okay.
And in fact, I wouldn't say it was comforting. I know some people say when they see someone that they've known, that they've loved, that was dead, it kind of reassures them that person is not there anymore. I did feel like that with my mum, but I didn't really feel like that with my dad because my dad, died suddenly and he was kind of sitting on the sofa dead, which is not kind of what you expect, is it? It's like
no, quite.
So I think that the impact of seeing a dead body before a funeral, I think, is probably context specific.
From what you're saying there, the context is really if the person has died in the natural course of events at a ripe old age, it probably is okay. But someone that's taken in an untimely fashion from us, then perhaps it isn't.
I think it depends. I think it just depends on the person. And I think the problem with that is you're not going to know until you know, are you?
No.
That's the problem. I think, I mean, I don't know now. I mean, I came with you because you asked me to.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have said, no, I don't want to come. And no. I saw my dad because he died in the house and my mum called me and said, I think Dad's dead. So obviously I went round and saw him. And I saw my mum dead because I was too late to get to the hospital. And so it was my only opportunity to say goodbye to her. So I think with those three people, who are the three closest people that have died in my life, I think it was circumstance with all of them, really. Now, if I'd been given the opportunity, would I have wanted to see them? I don't know. But I think you can only go with a situation like that on what you feel. And if you feel something's going to be too much for you, particularly if you're in recovery, if you feel it's going to be too much for you, don't put yourself at that risk. I can tell you one thing, the person who's dead doesn't care.
No, true. It's just that I've always been very conscious that my last view of Paul was as that, and that's an image that would never go away. And it's a shame because it would be nice to have had different images to remember. And as time has gone by, that has been filtered out. But it was still such a strong image that it's lasted with me forever. Moving back to really just perhaps it's a more specific to the recovering addict. If you're going along to the funerals, we always advise to avoid the wake if at all possible.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Because obviously the drink flying around in that situation is going to be tricky. We always say about if you want to go along and just pay respects or whatever, especially if it's a family you haven't seen for a long time, or people or friends that you want to catch up with, that's fine and it's cool just to quickly go in and just perhaps just show your face and then have an exit strategy ready so that you can move away, because it will get tricky. There's no doubt about that. There's all sorts of emotions going on at that time. You're getting pulled in all sorts of different directions. And your old friend, your drink and your drugs are going to be talking to you quite loudly. So try and avoid that if you can. And if you can't, just quick pop in and out.
Yeah, that's mitigating the risk, isn't it? Why put yourself in a situation that might put you at risk if you don't need to, for the sake of a prawn vol au vent?
Well, I don't think people are going to think any less of you, are they? Especially if they're aware of your issues and they understand why you don't want to stick around for too long. I think people would be quite happy that you've popped in or not popped in at all. Another point also, just a reminder, we've talked about reminding yourself that that drink and drugs will stop you processing the grief and It won't let you move forward. Remind yourself how proud the deceased person would be if you did remain sober. That was quite a strong one, because I remember talking to someone about that recently. Because to me, that shows incredible strength and a lot of respect that you didn't lapse on their funeral, even though they're obviously not around to see it. I think when you're thinking about that as a homage almost, you stayed sober, and I think there's nothing greater than that, really, especially if you're early in recovery. And it's been a painful bereavement process you're going through.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Exactly. And we always encourage people to sort of continue recovery programs straight away, straight after the funeral.
Go to a meeting.
Go to a meeting. Get onto the group. Talk to your therapist. Talk to your sponsor if you're in the fellowships. The one we had recently, we just got the person that was going to the funeral just to message us on the WhatsApp group, the chat, so we could all just have a bit of input and to help that person through a bit. So I think getting straight back onto your program as soon as you come away from the funeral, I think is vital, and I think it'll work. And it has worked in this case I'm talking about recently. And once you've done it, once you've gone through that process, pass on that knowledge as how you've done it to other people that are coming through recovery as well. Passing on that baton of recovery is a big theme that I used as throughout these episodes, really, and it's particularly relevant here as well. We were talking about, we touched upon Another One Bites the Dust earlier on, didn't we?
Yeah.
I want to come back to that now because as you get older, certainly people do start to think about I've thought about it and about, things have got to be, you've got to put your house in order, really. And I think you have those thoughts more. And I know my ex-brother-in-law, Colin, he has, he's got his funeral music on. Oh, he originally had it on his iPod, but he's now he puts it on his phone, and he does change them from time to time. And he did explain to me he wanted 3 songs on there. Yeah, the first one that he wanted people to cry hard when they came in because it's a real sad, miserable song. And then one in the middle where we could be a bit more reflective once you stop crying, and one to be a little bit more cheery on the way out. And he was choosing, I think that was Another One Bites the Dust by Queen as the tune when everyone's trudging away, to try and give them a bit of cheer.
Have you thought about what you'd have?
I haven't. No. Well, I have. Yeah, I have thought about it, but I haven't written them down because I keep thinking, that would be good, or this would be good. But
you should write them down. I mean, that's one of the things that we should all do. We should all have a death plan.
Exactly.
Because it really helps the people that are left when, there's always those conversations, aren't there, with family and friends about, what do you think they would have wanted?
Yeah.
And so, if you don't make a death plan, I'll be chipping into that if I outlive you. And I'll be saying, well, I remember Martin telling me once he wanted Ghostbusters on the way in and he wanted Don't Stop Believing on the way out. And you can put what you like in the middle. Jimmy Nail, he wanted in the middle.
I think I want to go on record now. I want No American Rock.
You need to put it in your death plan because that's the only way you can guarantee it's going to happen.
Okay. All right.
So I've stipulated that at my wake, I want fondant fancies. because I remember seeing a picture of my christening and there were fondant fancies on the table and there was a certain synergy I felt.
All right, yeah. It would complete the circle of life, wouldn't it?
It would appeal to you, wouldn't it? That would.
It would, yeah. Coming into the world via fondant fences.
Exactly.
And going out via them.
I want one in my coffin with me for the journey.
What flavour one? Do you want one of those chocolatey ones? Or
no, I don't like the chocolatey ones. I quite like the strawberry icing ones. They're not strawberry; they're the pink ones. I like the pink ones.
Yeah, they're quite nice, aren't they? Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Anyway, do you know what? I was talking to someone recently who I know who is a humanist celebrant, and she does funerals. And she said she's picked through some of our old episodes that we've done in the past on grief and bereavement and used some of our phrases in her funeral services. I thought was magnificent.
Yeah, very good.
Well, mainly mine. She said yours were quite rubbishy and it made people cry more, but mine were brilliant.
I think you might be misremembering that.
I took a couple of quick quotes.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
What do you reckon? We're coming towards the end now, and I realised that I hadn't put a quote in. So when I come to the end of my notes when I was preparing them a couple of days ago, I thought, I need to get a quote in. So the first one is from someone called Rumi, R-U-M-I. He's a 13th century Persian poet and Islamic scholar.
I know him well.
So do you?
Yeah.
Do you know him personally? Well, he said, goodbyes are only for those who love with their eyes, because for those who love with heart and soul, there is no separation.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm as wise as Rumi, because I certainly am not. But one of the things I've often said to people who are grieving is, if there's one good thing about death, is that person can never be taken away from you again. Which I think is pretty much what Rumi's talking about. He's saying the way that you hold someone in your heart is untouchable.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought it was a nice quote. I thought it was a good quote. I was quite happy.
He's a decent cove, is Rumi.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't really, it's the first time I've come across him, but obviously you've known of him for some time.
He's quite popular with therapists.
Is he? Right. Okay.
He's got some good philosophy that's quite helpful.
Is he? Actually, there's something I'm thinking. This is terrible. You've got me thinking about my death plan now.
Well, you should write it down. It's important.
Well,
we should all do this.
Okay. Well, I'm doing some of it verbally now.
Okay.
Because I reckon what I would like, right? Yeah. If there's a bouquet on my coffin as it goes in there, I want someone to throw it over their shoulders, see who catches it, see who's next.
I don't think anyone's going to want to catch that, are they?
like they do at weddings. I think that'd be great. So I'll, if you're around, I want you to do that because it'll bring great cheer, I'm sure. As everyone dashes away.
You want me to throw it or catch it?
Yeah, I want you to throw it, mate.
I don't mind throwing it. I ain't catching it though.
No, quite.
Because if you go first, I won't be in a hurry to catch you up.
Quite. Okay. Well, that's me pretty much done. So we'll talk about a gratitude list if you like.
Okay. Yeah. Far away.
Well, shall I do? I'll do mine first. So it's quite simple.
Yep.
Sunday roasts.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. Well, I was more grateful. I was invited to around to someone's house on the weekend just gone for a Sunday roast because I rarely cook one for myself on my own. So to be invited out for a Sunday roast as well, which is just lovely. And I thought, I'm really grateful to be invited, which was on last week's gratitude list about invites, but to have a Sunday roast was just lovely.
You're stringing your gratitude list together, aren't you? Last week it was invites. This week it was an invite for a Sunday roast. Next week you've got to put three together: an invite, a Sunday roast, and whatever next week's is. But next week you'll be grateful for horseradish.
I'll never be grateful for horseradish. That's never going to be on my
mustard. You'll be grateful for mustard.
I was grateful for the apple sauce, which was homemade and was delicious.
Roast pork.
It was, yeah.
Nice.
So on your gratitude list, where have we got to on your 1 to 17, where you drew up initially? Can we do number 16?
Okay, hang on.
Be funny if it comes out as Sunday roasts, wouldn't it?
I'll tell you what it is. This one won't surprise you, and this one's pretty simple. Won't really need much explanation. Guitar shops.
Okay, yeah. Is it just guitar or music shops generally?
No, it's guitar shops, really. Well, yeah, I don't mind if they sell other instruments, but
yeah,
I'm thinking of particularly. There's a couple of really lovely guitar shops in Brighton, GAT Guitar and Keyboard, and there's another acoustic guitar shop out in the back streets of Brighton. And I'll tell you, sitting just trying different guitars, particularly with a friend who's also a guitarist, is a very lovely way to spend a Saturday morning.
Is it? Yeah.
Lovely. So I realise that if you're not interested in guitars or you don't play guitar, it's going to leave you a bit cold, this one. But I suppose broadly, this is about gratitude for something that over the years has been a kind of constant companion to you, and those little kind of anarchy moments that perhaps other people, you know what it's like. Sometimes if you have a real interest in something that other people don't understand, it almost makes it better.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I can understand that.
It's a bit like that. You know, if you say to someone who isn't interested, like saying to someone who isn't interested in fishing, I'm going fishing today, you're like, yeah, big deal. But for me, sort of going and sitting and playing a load of different guitars all morning, fabulous.
It is music shop. I like music shops, but obviously I'm interested. I've always been in them just to look for the microphones and stuff.
Yeah, but
I think that I was greatly saddened to see that the one in Canterbury that I used to go to is closed, and other music shops have closed fairly recently. Obviously, with the lockdown has caused issues there. So the demise of the music shop will be very sad, as they will gradually end up going down that way.
Yeah, all the more reason to get out now and start playing guitars in a shop, even if you can't play guitar. And whatever you do, though, don't play Smoke on the Water.
I reckon it's every music shop owner's nightmare when someone comes in that can't play and picks them up.
Yeah, I don't know whether I've imagined it. It's in a film, isn't it? But I'm pretty sure I have seen signs in guitar shops on the wall that say "No Stairway to Heaven."
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Or no smoke on the water. You know, everyone would sit down and play that. It'd be like, if you worked there, you couldn't tolerate it, could you? You just want to smash guitars against the wall.
Yeah, I think even the bests of songs will become a real thorn in your side if you keep hearing them like that. That's for sure. Okay, well, I'm going to go onto my Spotify search then.
Funeral for a Friend.
We could have used that, couldn't we? Last week we mentioned Funeral for a Friend, so I did avoid them this week. But
I was thinking of the song by Elton John off the Yellow Brick Road album.
Is that called Funeral for a Friend then?
Isn't it?
I don't know. Is it? I don't know. I don't know the track, mate. I don't even know the...
I've got to check now. Maybe I'm misremembering. I've got to check it now.
I was just thinking of the group.
You carry on dripping on.
Okay, well, I was just talking about the group we mentioned last week, Funeral for a Friend.
Oh, yeah.
There was several that came up, really. There's one I particularly liked called A Liar's Funeral by Slipknot, which is, which in fact, it was surprisingly melodic for Slipknot. I couldn't quite understand. It wasn't as growly as their normal stuff. But another one came up that I'd sort of forgotten about, which is Electric Funeral by Black Sabbath.
Oh,
which it's a very Sabbathy track. I mean, it's why I'd forgotten about that, I don't know, because it's excellent. There was one called Funeral for My Morals by Sierra Miles, who's also known as CC Miles. And that was about pushing people away because deep down you don't believe you deserve them. I liked the sentiment of it. I thought it's a great track. I've never heard of Sierra Miles before. Found her on Facebook under CC Miles, one of her other pseudonyms, and I'm going to put that one on the list because it's a lovely track. You'd like it, I'm sure.
Are you stalking her?
You'd love it.
You're looking her up on You're looking her up on Facebook. Are you stalking her?
Well, I couldn't work out. I was trying to find out where she was from and all this. I like to have a bit of background knowledge about it, but about the person I'm choosing to go on there. But again, there wasn't a great deal on there, but it's a lovely track. So I recommend that you and the listeners have a browse of that one. I'm not sure if it's on YouTube, but certainly on Spotify. It's a lovely song. And I did put two on this week because I also wanted to put on Funeral Pyre by The Jam, which was
okay. Yeah.
Again, it's a great track, but it's a bit indulgent because when I was writing these notes, obviously I was thinking about Paul a lot, and it was one of his favourite tracks. I remember when we bought the single and played it at home, and we both thought it was just a fabulous track. So I'm putting that on there as well.
That's fair enough. And Funeral for a Friend is an Elton John song from...
Is it?
Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Is it? Well, obviously that's where the group got their name from.
Yeah.
So, this all works out. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with my notes now. I've done.
Good. That's it. It's getting dark now, isn't it? So I'm going to go and feed the dog. All right. See you next time.
Mate. I said hello, then I meant goodbye. I got confused.
See you next time. Hello. Laters.
You're all right, mate. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye.
Sideways was created by Graham Landy and Martin Pankhurst. If you want to read more about our work or sort through the extensive archive of past episodes, just visit grahamlandywellbeing.co.uk/sideways-podcast. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram at Sideways Podcast, and you can email us if you have a question or if there's something you'd like us to cover. But most of all, we want to tell you how grateful we are that you come and listen, and we ask that if you've enjoyed what you've heard, that you spread the word. And we'll see you next week.